We've worked very closely with the Fire Brigade Employees Union to look at a range of measures to cut overtime, to cut allowances in some instances. They put a package to their membership that was rejected. They voted against it. It leaves us with very little alternative now. We're 4 months into the financial year. We need to make these savings, just like every other agency in government, and this is the measure that will make a big impact on overtime, but negligible impact on service delivery. Across Sydney there's about 100 fire stations. Any given time on a weekday there can be up to 20 of those fire stations doing training, going to certain areas to do bushfire hazard reductions, doing a range of different things, prevention work. So we know that we can take that number of stations offline without affecting our average 10-minute response time across the area. What we're talking about here is taking maximum of around 4 stations offline, so there's no real impact on the response times. We're a very well-resourced fire and rescue service. In Sydney, for example, there's about 100 fire stations. In Newcastle, more than 20. We can take a small number of stations offline at any given time for training, for hazard reduction burns, or to go and assist at bushfires and other areas without affecting our response time standards. So this is a very measured approach. We're only talking about 2, 3, maybe 4 fire stations coming offline in Sydney at any given time. We know that that won't impact our response capability. I need to be very clear, this does not apply to regional fire stations in regional New South Wales. We're talking about the Sydney Fire District, stretches from Palm Beach to Engadine, out to Penrith, some minor measures in Newcastle and Wollongong, but we're not talking about regional areas. Look, we're not unique. This week we've had the World Firefighter Games in Sydney. Last night I met with fire chiefs from England, the USA, Canada. The day before, the fire chief from Hong Kong. Every fire service in the world is facing austerity measures. My colleagues interstate, major budget cutbacks, because across government people have to cope with the revenue that they get and not exceed that. We understand that. We have to do our bit, just like health, education, police, every other agency. This measure will not impact service delivery. I'd like to reassure the community that despite what they might hear, and there might be a bit of scaremongering in the press, I've heard that before, this is not going to impact service delivery. We know that we can maintain response times. You have a world-class fire and rescue service. Firefighters are men and women who will put their own lives on the line to save others. That will continue happening. We take stations offline every day of the week. We've done it for 100 years, and we're just talking about a different measure. This time it's to reduce overtime, and I think that's a legitimate use of public resources.